September the 19th, Agarics. The most familiar mushroom for Londoners are those they see in supermarkets. Open, closed, button or sliced, these are nearly all races of the cultivated mushroom, Agaricus bisporus, which can be found in the wild, usually in unimproved grassland, especially where the grass is short. It is a typical looking agaric, and many similar looking species can be found mainly in fields and woods around London. The other greatly prized edible agaric is the field mushroom, Agaricus campestris, which is generations of Londoners have risen at dawn to collect for their breakfasts. It can still be found in fields around the outer edge of London, but rarely now in significant numbers. When looking at agarics with a view to eating them, there are certain rules of thumb that should be followed. Always bruise the edge of the cap and the base of the stem, or even cut it to see if it turns yellow. An immediate change to yellow is a bad sign. Also, smell the gills. If they smell of almonds or aniseed, it is generally a good sign. And if you smell ink or iodine, it's a bad one. All small agarics are best left, especially if the cap is unopened, as they can so easily be confused with young specimens of highly poisonous Amanita species. Also, if the caps are found anywhere near a road, they should not be picked, as they may well contain pollutants absorbed from passing cars. It is always worth remembering agarics are a bigger group than most people realise, with perhaps 80 or more different species, of which perhaps half occur in London. It is the larger agarics that tend to get noticed, especially the yellow stainer, Agaricus xanthoderma. This is common in parks and cemeteries and is easily identified when fresh due to it instantly turning from white to a chrome yellow at the edge of the cap when bruised. If the stem is sliced in two lengthwise, it also turns the same intense yellow, but only at the base of the stem. If eaten, it usually causes nausea, but can cause much more serious symptoms, even coma. Large agarics also tend to be found at the sides of roads. The two most likely to be seen here are the pavement mushroom, Agaricus bitorquis, and the salt-loving mushroom, Agaricus bernardii. The first is quite capable of lifting paving stones as it grows due to the pressure of osmosis, and the second is more typically seen by the coast. It is present in London, being largely due to road salting. Both are edible, but are far too firm to be easily digestible and should not be picked as they grow in a polluted habitat. As with so many agarics, both tend to redden when handled, but only Agaricus bernardii has a fishy smell. Another rarer agaric, which may now be seen pushing its way up through the soil, is Agaricus vaporarius. Although ugly looking with dark scales covering its cap, it has one of the most delicious odours of all agarics, sometimes described as liquorice. The species that reddens most dramatically is, as its name suggests, Agaricus haemorrhoidarius, which is found in oak woodland. Agaricus sylvaticus colours red, not quite so much, and is found in conifer woodland. Agaricus impudicus, which has a fruity smell, is also found under conifers, but only tends to turn slightly pink when it's cut. Agaricus langii also turns a dull pink, but has a more spindle-shaped stem. The made edible species that most people are looking for don't tend to change colour at all, except perhaps for slowly to a light soft yellow. This is especially true of the horse mushroom, Agaricus arvensis, once found typically in fields where horses grazed, but now more likely to be found in gardens. Although with its close relative, the prince, Agaricus augustus, it can produce caps up to 20 centimetres across, with just one specimen being quite sufficient for a good meal. It is occasionally seen in both conifer and deciduous woodlands, and usually recognised by its size, scaly cap, slight yellowing, and strong smell of bitter almonds. One last confusing agaric, usually found in conifer woodland, is the wood mushroom, Agaricus sylvicola. It is like Agaricus sylvaticus, but tends to turn a soft yellow rather than red. It also smells of almonds, whereas Agaricus sylvaticus smells of aniseed. Both are good to eat, but with their long, thin stems, there is rarely enough to merit collecting. Both these species can be found in pine woods around Oxshott. Most other agarics are much smaller, usually not much larger than button mushrooms, and difficult to identify in the field. Rarer species include Agaricus comptulus and Agaricus niviscens in grassy areas, and Agaricus romagnesi and Agaricus verigens and Agaricus langii in conifer woods. Before taking the plunge and deciding whether or not to eat any of these agarics, or similar-looking leucoagaric species, it is wise to become acquainted with the red-staining Inocybe petuiliardi, as well as the livid Entoloma lividus, Both are highly poisonous and not unlike agarics. These agarics, the latter mushroom is responsible for 80% of all fungal poisoning in France.